Ed Sullivan stood backstage at CBS Studio 50, staring at Diana Ross in complete disbelief. It was December 21st, 1969, and the Supremes were scheduled to perform their final song of the evening, when Diana had just delivered news that would send shockwaves through the music world. "Mr. Sullivan," she had whispered moments before going back on stage, "I need to tell America something tonight. This is my last performance with the Supremes. I'm leaving the group." Ed felt his stomach drop. He had booked the Supremes, Motown's biggest act, for a routine holiday performance. He had no idea he was about to broadcast the breakup of the most successful female group in music history. What happened in the next 4 minutes would create one of the most dramatic moments in Ed Sullivan Show history, and mark the end of an era that had defined American popular music for nearly a decade. Before you hear this explosive story, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to witness is the night when Ed Sullivan unknowingly became part of one of music's most shocking betrayals. To understand why Diana Ross's announcement was so devastating to Ed Sullivan, you need to understand what the Supremes represented to his show and to American culture by 1969. The Supremes weren't just another singing group. They were a cultural phenomenon that had helped break down racial barriers in popular music while becoming Ed's most reliable ratings draw. The Supremes had appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show more than any other Motown act, with over 15 appearances since their breakthrough in 1964. Ed had watched them evolve from 3 young women from Detroit's housing projects into the most sophisticated and successful female group in the world. Their appearances consistently delivered some of his highest ratings, especially among the crucial younger demographic that advertisers desperately wanted to reach. But Ed had also noticed growing tensions within the group over the past 2 years. Diana Ross, the group's lead singer and undisputed star, had been receiving increasingly solo-focused treatment from Motown Records. The group had even been renamed Diana Ross and the Supremes in 1967, a change that had clearly created resentment among the other members, Mary Wilson and Cindy Birdsong. "Diana's different now," Ed had confided to his wife Sylvia after the Supremes' previous appearance earlier in 1969. "She used to be part of the group, one of 3 friends who sang together. Now she acts like she's the star and the other 2 are just backup singers." There's tension there that you can feel even from the audience. The December 21st booking had been routine as a holiday-themed appearance, featuring the Supremes performing Christmas songs and some of their biggest hits. Ed expected a smooth, professional performance from one of his most dependable acts. He had no idea that behind the scenes, Motown executive Berry Gordy had been planning Diana's exit from the group for months, and that tonight would serve as her public farewell. The day of the show, the Supremes arrived at CBS Studio 50, and Ed immediately sensed something was different. The usual camaraderie between the 3 women was completely absent. Diana was distant and focused, speaking primarily to her own entourage rather than her groupmates. Mary Wilson looked tense and upset, while Cindy Birdsong seemed confused and uncertain about what was happening. During rehearsals, the musical arrangements were perfect. The tight harmonies and choreographed movements that had made the Supremes famous were flawless. But the interpersonal dynamics were clearly strained. Diana dominated every interaction, making decisions about staging and song selection without consulting Mary or Cindy. It was obvious that whatever friendship had once existed between these women had been destroyed by fame, money, and competing ambitions. "Everything all right with you ladies today?" Ed asked during a break in rehearsals, sensing the unusual tension. Diana answered before Mary or Cindy could speak. "We're fine, Mr. Sullivan. Just focused on giving America a great performance tonight." But Ed could see that Mary Wilson was fighting back tears, and Cindy looked like she wanted to say something but was afraid to speak. This wasn't the unified group that had charmed audiences for years. This was 3 women who could barely stand to be in the same room together. An hour before showtime, Diana approached Ed privately in his office. What she told him would completely change the course of the evening. "Mr. Sullivan, I need to share something with you and with America tonight," Diana said, her voice carrying a determination that Ed had never heard before. This is my final performance with the Supremes. After tonight, I'm pursuing a solo career." Ed was stunned. "Diana, are you sure about this? Have you discussed this with Mary and Cindy? Have you thought about what this means for the group?" Diana's expression hardened. "This isn't a discussion, Mr. Sullivan. This is a decision that's already been made. Barry Gordy and I have been planning this for months. Tonight is the right time to make the announcement, because your show reaches the largest possible audience." Ed realized he was being used. Diana and Motown had booked the Supremes on his show specifically to announce the group's breakup, knowing that the Ed Sullivan Show platform would ensure maximum publicity for Diana's solo career launch. "What do Mary and Cindy think about this announcement?" Ed asked. Diana shrugged dismissively. "They'll be fine. The Supremes will continue with new members. But I need to grow as an artist, and I can't do that as part of a group anymore." Ed felt manipulated and angry, but he was also trapped. The show was going live in less than an hour, and canceling the Supremes would create chaos for the entire broadcast. He had to let this play out even though he suspected he was about to witness something ugly and heartbreaking. At 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the Ed Sullivan Show went live to the nation. Ed did his opening monologue and introduced the first guests, but his mind was completely focused on what would happen during the Supremes' performance. He had no script for how to handle Diana's announcement, no guidance for managing what was about to become a very public breakup. The Supremes performed their first song, "Someday We'll Be Together," with professional precision, but Ed could see the strain in Mary and Cindy's faces. They were performing while knowing that their careers as they knew them were about to end, broadcast live to 60 million Americans. When the song ended, Diana stepped forward to the microphone while Mary and Cindy remained in the background, clearly uncertain about what was about to happen. "Ladies and gentlemen," Diana said, her voice steady and confident, "I want to take this opportunity to share some news with you. After 7 incredible years, this is my final performance with the Supremes. I'll be pursuing a solo career starting in 1970, but the Supremes will continue with new members." The studio audience gasped audibly. This wasn't part of the planned show. This was breaking news happening in real time. Ed watched in horror as Mary Wilson's face showed complete shock and hurt. It was clear that even though Mary knew Diana was leaving, she hadn't expected the announcement to be made so publicly and so coldly. Diana continued speaking to the audience, as if nothing dramatic was happening. "I want to thank everyone who has supported the Supremes, and I hope you'll continue to support both my solo career and the continuing Supremes." The cameras captured Mary Wilson trying to maintain her composure while Cindy Bird's song looked confused and uncomfortable. This was supposed to be a celebration of the Supremes' success, but it had turned into a very public humiliation for the women Diana was leaving behind. Ed realized he had to intervene to prevent the situation from becoming even more awkward and painful. He walked onto the stage and attempted to salvage the moment. "Well, Diana, that's certainly big news," Ed said, trying to sound supportive while privately furious at being manipulated. "And Mary and Cindy, the Supremes will continue, correct?" Mary Wilson stepped forward, her voice barely controlled. "Yes, Mr. Sullivan. The Supremes will continue and we're excited about the future." But anyone watching could see that Mary was devastated and that this announcement had blindsided her despite the months of behind-the-scenes maneuvering. The performance concluded with an incredibly tense version of "Let Yourself Go," during which the three women barely looked at each other. What should have been a joyous holiday performance had become a wake for one of America's most beloved musical partnerships. After the cameras stopped rolling, the backstage atmosphere was electric with anger and hurt feelings. Mary Wilson confronted Diana in front of Ed and the entire production staff. "How could you do that?" Mary demanded, tears streaming down her face. "How could you announce it like that, without even talking to me first? We were supposed to be friends, Diana. We grew up together." Diana remained cold and unmoved. "This is business, Mary. It's not personal. You'll understand someday when you're ready to think like a professional instead of like a little girl." Ed watched this confrontation with growing disgust. He had respected Diana as a performer, but her callous treatment of her former friends revealed a side of her character that he found deeply disturbing. "Diana, that was unnecessary," Ed said firmly. "Mary deserved better than to find out about your announcement along with the rest of America." Diana looked at Ed with surprise. "Mr. Sullivan, I thought you would understand. This is how the entertainment business works. You make the decisions that are best for your career, not at the expense of people who trusted you," Ed replied. "Not by humiliating them on national television." The aftermath of Diana's announcement was immediate and dramatic. Entertainment reporters who had been watching the show began calling CBS within minutes, wanting quotes and additional information about the breakup. Music industry executives started making plans to sign Diana as a solo artist or to recruit new members for the Supremes. But the human cost was enormous. The friendship between Diana and Mary Wilson was destroyed forever. Mary later described that night as one of the most painful experiences of her life, saying she felt betrayed not just professionally but personally by someone she had considered a sister. Berry Gordy, Motown's founder and the architect of Diana's solo career, later admitted that using the Ed Sullivan Show to announce the breakup was a calculated move designed to generate maximum publicity. But he also acknowledged that the human cost had been higher than anyone anticipated. Ed Sullivan never forgave Diana for manipulating him and his show. In later interviews, he described the December 21, 1969 broadcast as one of his most regrettable, not because of any technical problems, but because he had been used as an unwitting participant in what he called a cruel and unnecessary public humiliation. "I built my show on the idea that we were presenting family entertainment," Ed said in a 1972 interview. "That night, Diana Ross turned my stage into a battlefield and used my platform to hurt people who had trusted her. That's not what entertainment should be about." Diana's solo career, of course, became enormously successful. She went on to achieve massive commercial success, and eventually became a movie star and cultural icon. But the way she left the Supremes tainted her reputation with many people in the industry who had witnessed her callous treatment of her former partners. The Supremes continued for several more years with different lineups, but they never regained the magic and commercial success they had achieved with Diana. Mary Wilson spent decades trying to rebuild the group's reputation while dealing with the emotional aftermath of that December night. Looking back, the December 21, 1969 Ed Sullivan Show represents a turning point in how the music industry handled group breakups. Diana's cold, calculated announcement became a template for other artists looking to leave successful partnerships, but it also demonstrated the human cost of prioritizing career advancement over personal relationships. Ed Sullivan learned an important lesson about the power of his platform and the responsibility that came with it. In later years, he became more careful about allowing performers to use his show for personal announcements, requiring advance notice and approval for anything beyond standard musical performances. The story of Diana Ross's shocking announcement teaches us about ambition, loyalty, and the price of success. Sometimes achieving our individual goals requires destroying the relationships that helped us succeed in the first place. But as Ed Sullivan discovered that night, being a witness to such betrayal leaves everyone involved feeling diminished. If this story of ambition and betrayal moved you, hit that subscribe button and tell us, have you ever had to choose between personal success and loyalty to friends? Sometimes the biggest victories come at the highest personal cost, and the stages we use to celebrate our achievements can become platforms for breaking other people's hearts.